Welcome back to AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems. I'm glad you're with us. I'm your host, Lisa Parsons. Today's story is about Visa signs $2.4 billion deal to acquire BioCatch. Payment networks have traditionally concentrated on authorization and fraud at the point of transaction. Many modern attacks begin earlier, when a criminal opens an account, steals credentials, takes over a session, or manipulates a legitimate customer into sending money. By the time a transfer reaches the payment rail, the activity may look technically authorized. BioCatch tries to evaluate intent from how a session unfolds. Its systems examine signals such as keystrokes, touch gestures, mouse activity, device handling, network context, signs of coercion or automated use. Those observations are combined into real-time risk assessments for banks. Visa says BioCatch serves more than 350 financial institutions in 21 countries, including more than 100 of the world's largest banks. The company reports coverage of about 760 million users and 1.8 billion devices, with roughly 19 billion sessions analyzed each month. These are company-reported scale figures, not independent measures of detection accuracy. Behavioral intelligence differs from a password or one-time code because it evaluates patterns throughout a session. A customer may enter correct credentials but move through screens in an unusual way, paste data where they normally type, or show interaction patterns associated with remote control fraud. The system can raise risk without treating one signal as decisive. That approach can help with scam detection, where the account holder is real but the decision is being manipulated. It can also reduce reliance on static identity checks that attackers learn to bypass. Effective deployment still requires calibrated thresholds. It also needs high-quality feedback from confirmed cases and a clear response for each risk level. The models operate in a sensitive privacy setting. Banks must define rules for data minimization and retention. They also need rules for access, regional transfers, customer notice, and human review. A person's behavior can change because of disability language, a new device, or an unfamiliar interface. Those differences must not automatically become evidence of criminal intent for Visa. BioCatch would extend security earlier in the digital banking journey. Visa could combine behavioral risk with its identity, cyber payment, and fraud products. That could give banks one vendor across more stages of an attack. The commercial value will depend on the quality of the integration, not just the acquisition price. Let's pause here for a short break. We'll be right back after this bumper. Welcome back. If you find this useful, follow and subscribe to AI Weekly News. Now, let's continue the news. Competitors in payments, identity, and fraud prevention may respond by adding more session-level intelligence or buying specialist providers. Banks could benefit from fewer disconnected alerts, but consolidation can also increase dependence on one platform. Buyers should preserve access to evidence, exportable data, and independent performance testing. The deal also reflects how generative AI is changing both sides of fraud. The attackers can scale social engineering and adapt messages quickly, while defenders use machine learning to detect patterns across large networks. Neither side wins permanently. So model updates, incident sharing, and rapid feedback remain essential. The strongest case for behavioral intelligence is not that it predicts a person's identity with certainty. It adds context when credentials and device checks appear valid. When used carefully, it can trigger a proportionate action, such as added verification, a short hold or analyst review. Instead of an automatic denial, false positives deserve the same attention as headline detection rates. Blocking legitimate customers can create financial harm, support costs, and unequal access. Institutions should measure performance across customer groups, transaction types, devices, and regions, then document who can override the model and why. Combining the two companies remains an open question. Visa and BioCatch must align data controls, model governance, client contracts, and incident response. They must do that while maintaining service for existing bank customers. The announcement provides scale and strategy, but it does not provide an independent accuracy study or a completed integration plan. Visa's planned acquisition of BioCatch would move fraud prevention toward the full digital session rather than the final payment alone. The $2.4 billion agreement is a major bet on behavioral and device intelligence. Visa expects that intelligence to identify manipulation earlier and help banks respond with more context. Important next steps include the regulatory process, the final closing, and evidence that the combined products reduce fraud without excluding legitimate users. The useful measure will not be how many signals the platform collects. The real test is whether those signals support accurate, explainable, and privacy-conscious decisions in real banking. Marmons, thank you for listening to AI Weekly News by Cyber Intel Systems. Subscribe and join us next week for the latest AI stories.